Let me tell you, it was a strange and beautiful Friday. It was a lost Friday, in some sense. I went down the rabbit hole, and I didn't resurface until early this morning. The result of my explorations, my investigations, are too complicated for a single post, a single video. But nevertheless, we're going to get started. Today, you and I are going to begin considering two responses to societal reality from within the belly of the beast. At the most abstract level, we can call these responses the political and the spiritual. In the more concrete terms of emotion, considering our modern situation politically leads us to a response of anger. Considering it spiritually evokes a first reaction of fear. Fear which becomes loathing the closer it gets to political rage. Both responses, or any response on the spectrum between them, are valid. Anyone who chooses to consider the situation with an open mind, anyone who has been compelled to live through it, can easily understand why it leads to fury on the one hand, fear on the other, or a wobbling oscillation between the two. The response of anger is justified, and the response of fear is understandable, because the situation we find ourselves in as average people within a modern society is horrifying to both our human and our animal sensibilities. The societal reality that you and I live through day to day can seem normal, but that is only because it has been normalized, oftentimes deliberately, even strategically, by those who have a vested interest in making the horror seem ordinary and the evil seem banal. Let's start all over again with the brilliant analysis of Malcolm X. He says that on the plantation, everyone fell into one of three categories. You had masters and house Negroes and field Negroes. The most brilliant thing about Malcolm's analysis of the societal situation is the observation that nothing has changed. When I was still a child, More than 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, I was told that I had three choices. I could, they said, lead. I could follow, or I could, quote, get the hell out of the way, unquote, which has always been the option that had the most immediate appeal for me, in spite of the fact that I'm still not sure what it means. To lead means striving to become a master. To follow, obviously, means to obey and to orient your life toward becoming a good, productive house Negro. So that leaves getting out of the way matched up with field Negro. And though I am not sure that the match is philosophically perfect, partly because no one knows what getting out of the way really means, I think we can take that much on faith for now. Malcolm, for example, was a separatist. He admired his brothers and sisters who found the courage to secede themselves from the plantation by running away. And he believed that physically separating himself and his people from the empire was the best answer to what was at the time called the race question, or sometimes the black problem. In any case, having your choice limited to these three options is not freedom in any real sense. It's easy and technically true to say that whites in America have always had more freedom than non-whites, whatever those dumb terms mean. And that a black person born into shiny modern American empire modernity has got more freedom than a literal field Negro back on the plantation. But most of the time, and for most people, hot takes like these end up being distinctions without any difference. The poet Charles Bukowski, echoing Malcolm on the subject of nothing changing, says, "Slavery was never abolished. It was only extended to include all the colors." Another reason that the offered choice is false is that many, many forms of getting the hell out of the way have been criminalized over time, depending on the local circumstance. A field Negro who ran away became a criminal by stealing back his own freedom and labor from the master who claimed to own them. Today, there is no frontier outlet for getting out of the way. Wherever you may go the hell away to, the very land you stand on is already owned by some damn master or another. Putting up a shanty and planting carrots anywhere is just going to get you arrested, unless you maybe have the money to own the land yourself. And even if you do somehow make it to the land-owning class, you're going to run up against the zoning board, who will want you to get, at the very least, a permit to install a mandatory septic tank, and who will be glad to forcibly inform you that your kind of shanty isn't permitted in the residential B1 zone that they themselves placed your owned property into. And by the way, your taxes are overdue, or your property is being seized by eminent domain, or we've invented this thing called civil asset forfeiture, so fork it over. And no tears, no rage. Or, we don't like the way that you're raising your children up there on Ruby Ridge, so we're coming up there to shoot them. Or you, or whoever the fuck gets in our way. So our only realistic choices are to try to claw our way up the ladder and become beastly masters ourselves, or to obey and to devote ourselves to some other master, enslaving ourselves voluntarily. Being offered the vague third choice of getting the hell out of the way really just means, you know what? You're free to get the fuck out of my sight, peasant, and stay out no matter where I choose to look. And even so, speaking just for myself, this third impossible choice is nevertheless the only morally acceptable choice. I don't have much to say to the masters of capital. There's only a wordless contempt rising up like bile in my throat for them, manifesting itself as a mostly useless political rage and a mostly worthless spiritual fear. I also have few words for the obedient followers, for the house Negroes. For the best of them, like the character Dilsey in The Sound and the Fury, or like this middle manager once who held my hand when our masters were trying to stab me. For the followers, I have pity. For the best of them, I have pity arising from that shared spiritual fear. For the rest of the followers, the worst, I got nothing but a loose scorn. Either way, my words stick in my throat, not wanting to waste themselves on what cannot be changed. But for the rest of you, who are trying to figure out what that third choice even is, along with me, oh, for you, I have words. All my words. And much more than words.